thanks everyone for coming to join us for today's webinar. This is one I'm really excited about because some of you don't really know the backstory, but I've been wanting to do an auto webinar with Plus This for a long time, and it wasn't really until recently when Sixth Division kind of like cracked the code with it and came up with this really cool way to use our tools to do it that we were able to pull it off ourselves, see some really cool results, and then always share that with you guys so you can do the same thing for your business. So that's kind of the background for this wonderful webinar. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about how to set up a predictable revenue stream using an automatic webinar without tech overwhelm. So JMac's here with me as well. I don't know if you can go to the next slide for me, JMac. But
yeah, I'm able.
Yeah, it's all good. But today we're going to talk about exactly how you can easily set up a webinar campaign that does, is simple to use, provides.
I'm on it. I'm focused now. Sorry, we're ready.
Provides a predictable stream of sales and uses authentic messaging to create an emotional bond with your future customers. So there's going to be two questions we're going to help answer on this. It's going to be, one, can an automated webinar create results in my business? And two, what does it actually take to launch it and then optimize it? So that's what, that's what you're here for, let me know in the chat. I'd love to see like who's here. Give us a 1 or a 2 if one of these is really what you're kind of like looking to get out of this. But I'd love to see like some of the interaction. We're going to keep asking you guys questions, communicating with all of you guys. Let us know if you can hear us fine and everything's looking good. So awesome. Seeing a lot of 1s and seeing a couple of 2s here too. So this is great. This is great. Keep it going. All right. So go ahead. If you can go to the next slide too, JMac. A little bit about me. I'm Bryce. You've probably seen some of our webinars before, but I've been a part of Plus This for about 3 years now. A lot of my background comes in experience with Infusionsoft when we first started using that 8+ years ago. But I've been doing marketing automation for a little bit closer to 10 years now. But as far as my background goes, I've started working with the big brands in my early days. I was working on it as a consultant, and I was hired with Microsoft to help do some of that. Dell was working with them as well, and then did some promotional stuff with Nestle, LiveScribe, and Dole. But really, the last 8 years, I've been working more with the small businesses, which is really what I love to do. And we're going to be able to do some really cool stuff for all of you here who are also in small businesses and want to be able to see more results with that too. But on the personal side, I have a lot of pets. We have a little Chihuahua named Monty and a kitten named Bass. The lab unfortunately passed away recently, and so I haven't updated my About Me slides for that, but he was a really good dog too. And then on the hobby side, I'm really like doing things like board games, paddleboarding, Mario Kart, like just having a lot of fun. So that's a little bit about me, but the real man for the show is going to be JMac, and he's going to talk a little bit about himself here in a second. And if this is one of the first webinars you've done with Plus This, a little bit about us is we're the #1 campaign toolkit for Infusionsoft. We're the most recommended app in the Infusionsoft marketplace. We have over 2,000 customers in 50 countries, but we're growing really fast, and we're processing and running a lot of your campaign transactions to help you convert more sales. And one of the ways that we're seeing some really good success recently for ourselves and for some of the customers who are on the bleeding edge are these automated, like on-demand webinars. So that's why I'm really excited to kind of get into the meat of the presentation today to show you exactly how to do that.
Cool. Bryce, RIP for Bigsby, man.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. I should have updated my slides ahead of time, but I was like, oh, wait, he's in there. But it's all good.
Yeah. Well, in memoriam.
Yeah.
Cool. So, hey, everybody. I'm pumped to do this and collaborate with Bryce and Plus This to talk about some things that we're doing and how we've leveraged Plus This with internally at Sixth Division for our own stuff and with lots of our clients. And I mean, I use it in some of my own side businesses too. So this is gonna be a lot of fun. We've got some hopefully some really cool stuff to share with you. If you don't know Sixth Division, we are a marketing automation agency, and we help entrepreneurs and their teams build more successful businesses, right? And the real reason is so that they can do the things that they want to do and be more powerful influences in the world while also living life today. So I love entrepreneurship, and it's easy to get all caught up in all the things we could and should be doing and the game we make up. And it's like, make sure we have time to go paddleboarding with, with our lab, because you just don't know how long you're going to have them, right? Yeah. This is our team. If you don't know Sixth Division, the reason I show this is we care a lot about our team, because that previous slide that says you want to help people be more powerful influences in the world while living life today, that includes us too. We want to create an environment where we do that with and for our clients and entrepreneurs that we work with and love to serve, and for ourselves and our families. And it helps see that, like, yeah, we're not, this is not like a couple people in a garage or a back bedroom or whatever. Like, we've been doing this a lot with a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. Some of the known names that maybe we've worked with are some of the pictures here. So Frank Kern, JJ Virgin, Damon John. You've got Ryan Dice, Sean Greeley, Dave Ramsey, right? So we worked with some really big, reputable brands and entrepreneurs who are up to some really big things and are nationally or internationally known, and which is super fun. And so it lends, a tad and a touch of credibility to what we're able to do. And it's a lot of fun to work with them and their teams. But we really like to work with just normal entrepreneurs who may not be on TV or whatever it is. And the bulk of the people we work with are people just like you, people like us, who are up to something in the world and trying to, do what we're best at, leave an impact, serve, and, create a life that we want to live. And so that's what we do. A little bit about me very briefly. I'm the president here at Sixth Division. Like I said, we're a marketing automation agency. If you don't know us, I also am an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of two companies in my other passion in previous life, which is Authority Football and Toros Football Academy. One is a training and development business. We train mostly quarterbacks. The other is a national championship junior high football academy. My previous life, I was a teacher and a high school and collegiate coach. Before I got to Sixth Division, I was the VP of Marketing, Sales, and Admissions at a network of universities in Africa called the African Leadership University, known as the Harvard of Africa. While I was there, we grew ALU from 6 to 8 figures in 14 months. And prior to that, I helped develop the small business success method when I worked at Infusionsoft. So I have a lot of time and history with entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur in technology. And as I'm looking through this and as I realize some of the slides I put together, how automated webinars played a role in all of these things, actually, which I'm going to share with you in a little bit here. So pumped to be with you. Thanks for spending some time with us this afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are. Would love to know the following. What are you doing right now, like with webinars, specifically automated webinars or evergreen webinars? I feel like you probably fall into one of three buckets, right? You either are wondering if you could or should do them and whether or not it'll work. So let me know if that's you. The second, probably category is you know that they will work for you. You just don't know how, and you're here to find out, great, what's the simplest and best, most effective way to do it? Or so put a 1 if you're 1, put a 2 if you're the second one I just described, want to do it. And the third one would probably be, I'm doing it, and I want to know how to do it better. And there might be a fourth one of, I'm doing it and crushing it, and you probably should be our guest to deliver the webinar next time. So would love to see that. So cool, all over the board. We've got some 1s, 2s, and 3s. Anna says you're here to select the technology for a webinar you have in the works. Cool, we're going to talk about that. We're going to show you kind of prescriptively what we have found, but this is hopefully interactive and Q&A for all of you guys. When you've got questions around the tech, I'll be able to speak to some of that. Bryce will be able to speak to some of that, but we're going to talk about a very specific strategy and tech stack that we found to be the most simple, the simplest, and the most effective that we've worked with lots of our clients and have implemented for ourselves. And Bryce and his team have actually put together very recently.
Yeah, and JMac, I put a survey together for people who registered for this thing, so I can talk a little bit to the results we saw from that came up on the thank you page when people registered. And there was about 57% of the people who filled that out said they currently don't use automated webinars in their business. And the next closest one was 23.8% said I've run automated webinars before, but nothing that's really like worked for them. So the majority of people either haven't done it or they've tried it, but it's not really like hitting all the wheels yet. So I think
Sweet,
that'll be
perfect.
perfect for what you're going to go into.
Awesome. Well, so I'm glad you guys are joining. That's perfect. So you either haven't done it or haven't hit the nail on the head. We're not going to. I'm going to show you some results that didn't work at first and what we did, and what we did afterward to tweak it. So it's not just success stories, right? And if you're not in that, whatever that math ends up being, right? I don't know what it was. I don't remember the numbers. 80%, 70%. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And you have successfully run webinars, like, please contribute, right? So this is not, hey, this is the only way or this is the right answer. It's just, hey, this is what we're currently and recently been doing. We hope that it is helpful for you. So let's dive in, and please ask questions, steer, guide. In the absence of your questions and your guidance and your appetite, I've got some good stuff here for you, but I'd rather not just present and have a monologue. So please ask questions as they come up. We'll spend time wherever you guys have an appetite spending time. And like I said, in the absence, I'll make sure that we've got some good stuff otherwise.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So let me get my cursor back over there. So 3 promises for today. Here's what we're going to talk about. Promise number 1, you're going to discover whether or not and how to decide if an automated webinar is your next best step for building predictable revenue right in your business. Like, will it work for you based on your business model and so forth? That's the first thing we're going to tackle. Second thing, we're going to share the strategy and structure for the most successful webinar campaigns that we have seen and have iterated on with our clients, and then, like I said, ourselves. And the third one is going to find out how to communicate your message in a way that positions you as an authority and ultimately lead your prospects to hang on your every word and makes selling easy for you. Okay, so there's a combination of ingredients that makes this thing actually work. We're going to talk about those 3 things. Does that work for you? Like, are these the right questions to answer for you? Let me know if yes, that's it. And if you don't see something on here, then make sure you post that so that I can fulfill these 3 promises and make sure we either scratch the itch that you have or fulfill that promise in the Q&A at the end or whatever it needs to be. So I'm getting some yeses. Anna, thanks for that. Glad for it. You obviously had the question you said earlier about selecting technology. So make sure you ask questions around that when we get to the text. So I'm getting some yeses. Thanks, Nick, for that. Cool. All right. And let me know if there's something specific. You call it out. You are participants and advocates for your learning here. Okay. All right. And Bryce, help me as I'm going. If you see questions pop up and I don't see them, let me know so we can make this interactive for everybody.
Patrick just did a quick one too that I think I already know that you'll cover this really well too. But he says we're a service. We service a very niche market with long, complicated sales cycle that cannot be reached via typical social media. Example like Facebook ads. Could automated webinars be successful for us? So yeah, that's great into the promise number 1 that you're going to cover here.
Yep, perfect. And then I think we'll answer that question, Patrick. And more specifically, like to your question, I think we'll talk about the nuance of your question of, hey, we can't really reach these audiences via typical social media. Will this medium work? My short answer is yes, and I'd love to hear more. And we'll get into some criteria. Okay, so, and we've got a special gift for you if you stay until the end, right? So if you stay until the end, here's what Bryce and the team and we want to do. We've collaborated to put something together that hopefully will help you be able to go do this on your own, right? At the end of this, you're gonna want to go do, 1 of 3 things. You're like, cool, it's not for me, or it is for me, I'm excited to do it. You've convinced me and I'm ready to go. And you'll have a lot of things that you can go learn and do this and execute on this yourself. And we've also made it really easy to just deploy this in a kit I'm going to show you about at the end also. So we've got whatever works best for you and how you want to get this thing done. So that gift specifically is a free Plus This trial. Plus the journey map and blueprints for our automated webinar that we are currently running, the one that Plus This has recently launched, the ones we're using for our clients now, and so forth. So we're going to give you some of the documentation plus the free Plus This trial to actually do it if you don't have Plus This already. Plus This is a really important piece of technology in the stack to make it all work. And so Bryce, tell us more at the end of that. Like, let's make sure they know mechanically how to claim that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be happy to.
Cool. So promise number 1, how to decide if an automated webinar is your best next step for building a predictable revenue model. So the question is, can an automated webinar create results in your business? So here's the answers and some criteria. So this kind of starts to go to you, Patrick, and anybody else that has that question. So the first one, do your prospects buy more when they are educated? Right, so when you have somebody that's educated, are they more likely to buy historically? Okay, so if that education is important to help them or accelerate the process or ensure a higher conversion rate, then an automated webinar or an on-demand training or whatever we want to call it will be helpful. Second, are there myths or misconceptions in your industry that you can inform, educate, dispel, so on and so forth? Then this would be a great medium, a great tactic to deploy. The third one, can you provide valuable free training that solves part but not all of their problem? Okay, so can you train them on something that's actually valuable and meaningful to them, will solve some of their problem, but obviously will expose the greater problem that your primary product or offering, service, etc., will address. And then the fourth one, do prospects get excited learning how to get their problem solved specifically in your area? Like, do they like to learn about it or learn and see, right, how it will look like when they have this solved, what it will look like when they get that problem solved for them, if they actually are excited about that learning, that training, and want to spend time on an on-demand training and so forth. If those things are true, then this is a great play to run. It's a great tactic to run in your business. So let's look at a few specifics as we get in here. I chose, we've got a lot of client case studies. I chose to swap those out for things that I personally have had my hand in, and the vast difference of business types, business models, audiences, locations, price points, where we have used an automated evergreen on-demand webinar training and so forth to hopefully answer that question. So this first one is how an automated webinar was used to sell a $30,000 MBA program in Africa. I alluded to that earlier. So at ALU School of Business, we launched that School of Business in 4 months. We launched an MBA program from 0 to over 1,000 applications. We used a simple Q&A webinar to drive 300 of those 1,000 applications came through that Q&A webinar. Nothing sexy, nothing sizzly, just information that people wanted to have. Afterward, in the second cohort, we added 3 other evergreen webinars that those 3 generated 1,200 applications in the second cohort. In the second year, we had over 6,000 applications in the second cohort, and these evergreen webinars were part of that. The reasons they were effective and useful and why people want them is because they were practical, right? And they were on demand. It was easy for people who were in vastly different time zones. I mean, from West Africa to the farthest East Africa is a 4-hour time difference. And you've got people who are around. So that on-demand practical, they can watch it, when and where they want, is a really, really valuable reason that this was effective. And so ALU launched that MBA in 4 months, and over 30% of those applications came from that, right? So high ticket, executive kind of clientele or personas and so forth. So yes, evergreen webinar, on-demand class, etc., was effective there. Okay, next one, automated training class. So this is actually us at 6th Division. We use an automated training class to sell $15,000 services, which are obviously high ticket services, okay? So we use a simple 40-minute screen captured training, right? It's just a screencast. It's nothing super fancy. And we've sold over $500,000 in services in a year coming through that automated training class. That creates dozens of sales qualified leads a month for our consults. It is immediately useful to people who watch it, whether or not they get on a consultation and want to learn more or not from us. It is also on demand. They don't have to wait for it. It lends itself and gets people through curiosity of learning about a proprietary system or methodology and access to the way that we think and have them think about their business. So anyway, there's the summary on that. So we've been using it, and we're actually working on creating and recutting and deploying another one that will go live for us next month because we've gotten some great mileage out of the one we have. All right, another one mentioned earlier, my other business. So you're getting we're talking MBAs in Africa to high dollar consulting services in the US to youth quarterback training, right? So an automated presentation sells a $6,000 youth quarterback coaching package, which on paper that makes me it looks crazy. Who would pay $6,000 to have their sixth and seventh grader get trained in quarterbacks. We actually just launched this last weekend was our first kickoff camp for this academy. So we use a 2-hour soapbox video, and we sold $36,000 in quarterback training in a month to enroll and kick off this first cohort. It's an unheard of offering for the market. No one has ever heard of something like this. We changed perspective on the market and why someone would pay and why traditional stuff doesn't work the way that they want it to work. It was heavily research driven. The content was dispelling some of those myths and sort of showing a different path to their desired outcome and how the path that they're on won't actually get them what they want. So that was kind of the content in there. And so, like I said, we sold $6,000 quarterback academy in just a month and kicked that off. So it works, and it's lean and light, which is, I think, the emphasis I'm trying to make with all of these is it's not about a lot of complicated technology and so forth. And the fourth one, our very own Plus This, our automated webinar that they just recently deployed. It's still a baby and fresh optimizations to make, right? And I'll have Bryce talk a little bit about it, but I'll hit the bullet points here. They're driving their trials for Plus This. They're using this exact same strategy we're talking about today. Early on, the registration to it is over 39% conversion. They've got 41% open rates on all the emails in it. And in the first 2 weeks, they've got 10 trials already and haven't even optimized anything yet. So Bryce, have you talk a little bit more if there's anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, like I kind of want to talk to this audience too. Like, how many of you are a one-man marketing team or are limited on resources or have tried doing like a lot of those like regular live webinars? Anna's saying me. Yeah, and that's how it's, what I've found is the one-man like small marketing team kind of thing is if you've ever run like regular webinars before, they are a ton of work. And this stuff is some work too. But the problem with the live ones was that we would do all this work and energy into doing it, and we'd probably get around 20-ish free trials if it was a really good webinar for us. But then that was it. Like, it was all this work for a one-time thing, and we couldn't really like take advantage of all the other benefits that kind of come from this content. So like we would make the replay available for a little bit, but it kind of like just fizzle out. So the fact that we took one of our webinars that we did with Infusionsoft, we turned that into an auto webinar. I didn't even optimize it for like making it an auto webinar like presentation. Like I could go back and I could record some things to make it more like this is the same presentation, but talking to the auto webinar audience basically. And it's already getting us trials every day consistently, and we'll pass what we would normally get from a one-time webinar here in the next like week or so. So it's going to be something that you can scale, which is also nice. But yeah, and we used exactly what JMac's going to cover here too in order to do it. So a really cool way to do it. It's actually a lot simpler than I thought too.
So yeah, I think I love how you called that out, Bryce, around, hey, who's trying to do a lot themselves? It's actually the reason I chose to show the examples I showed, right? Sixth Division, we've got a team, marketing team. ALU, we actually, it's a big, legit thing. We started the MBA. It's a whole nother story for another time, but I started that MBA launching the School of Business, and we had zero resources, right? It was me. I had an intern. We had a list of 140 people, and we had to launch an MBA with 50 students in 4 months. We built a team around it, but initially we didn't, and that's one of the reasons we had to leverage things like automation to scale, right? Because we were starting to drive thousands and thousands of leads and stuff, and we had a really lean team. And then I've clearly got a really small little business where I'm the one that had to cut that thing, and I one shot, used Wistia's soapbox and end of story, right? So that's hopefully what you guys take away from this is you can do this. And you don't need a lot of expensive technology. You don't need a lot of expensive professional copywriting. We're going to get into that. You don't need to have a really, really fancy, super complicated presentation or whatever. It's really about the substance and having a stable technology platform to make it happen, to create the intended outcome that you want, which is people to be informed, be excited, and take action.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So a couple other examples of business types that we've seen really excel in this. So self-development gurus, people selling books and courses. This is super huge for that. Productivity experts selling tools. So it could be softwares, it could be, worksheets, it could be, some sort of kit or package that helps people out. We've got clients in all of these categories, as well as coaches and consultants selling high ticket coaching over the phone or workshops or whatever. And we've seen lots of other stuff with products and services in addition to this. I mean, almost anything can fit in that. So the message is yes, it can work for you if any of those things are true that we talked about earlier. Now, lots and lots of people come to us, and we've been seeing a lot of this over the last year, and really over the last 6 months. Our clients are coming to us and saying, "Hey, this is one of the plays I want to run," and they've tried to launch one ahead of time, and it bombed. Right? The problem, if it's bombed for you, or you want to try to avoid it bombing for you when you launch yours coming up, it's one of two things, right? The tech overwhelmed them and they don't get something launched, or it's unstable and unpredictable, or their messaging wasn't right. And that's basically it. I'm going to pause real quick because can you hear me okay, Bryce, still? I got a little, okay, cool. I got like the pink screen from GoToWebinar saying, hey, they may not hear you. So, all right. So yeah, there's two reasons. There's two main ingredients. There's the tech, which creates the journey. And then there's actually the substance of the messaging. That's super important. And I think it's easy for entrepreneurs to really get down into the weeds of the technology only. And we are going to talk a little bit about the messaging and what we've seen be effective there. So, but once these problems are fixed, then you've got a webinar campaign. It's up, running, ready to go, and it starts bringing automated, predictable income into their business. And that's the beauty of it, is knowing, hey, this thing's going to produce predictably because historically it has, X amount over this period of time, and it lets us focus on other things in our business or our life. So it doesn't really matter what level of business you're in. Hopefully, case in point with the examples I just gave, whether you're new, established, or just trying to get onto a new market. Again, an example I just gave, I believe an automated webinar campaign can work for you. Now, here's the three critical components. I hit on two of them. I want to talk on the third. The third one I'm going to bring to the top now. Here's the deal. You must have an offer for your product or service that converts. It's got to be something that your audience already wants. So if you've proven to be able to sell something, then you can lay this strategy or this tactic on top of it to sell it. If you've got something brand new and then you launch an automated webinar and it doesn't perform, well, you've got two variables and no control. So you don't know, was it the tactic or was it the offer? And so start this with something people actually want, unless you can't, like our MBA or like my quarterback academy. One had higher stakes than the other, right? Two, you need the back-end technology to scale and serve more clients. We talked about the benefits of scale. And three, you need to have a clear message, why it matters for them to get on, why it matters for them to keep moving and consuming through, and why they would want to take the action you're going to have them take after. This is simple, but not easy. Okay, so I've shown you that it can work for you if you get everything set up, right? So do you want to see how we actually do it now? Who'd like to see the journey and the blueprint and the tech and screenshots of the assets? Who'd like to see literally what we've put in play to get people on our webinars and into our webinar kits? And Anna/Jorge or George, that's right, it's George. George, good to see you, man. George let us know that he is undercover of his wife's. Cool, let's rock and roll. So promise two, the strategy and structure for the most successful webinar campaigns. This is where we're going to get a little prescriptive on what we've actually seen and found. So there's two parts. There's the assets for a successful campaign, the landing pages, the emails, the clicks, and so forth, right? And then there's the messaging, which I hit on. So here's the automated webinar checklist. When you get to do this, when you start to work, here's the key things you need to do in this order. The first one is decide the product offering. These italicized for a reason. You have to know the single thing that you're driving everything and all of your messaging, all of your efforts to. You can't be confused. I'm going to sell a bunch of different stuff. It's got to be one thing. If you want to sell more than one thing through automated webinars, don't do it all at once, but you would actually have separate webinars, okay? Two, determine the units you need to sell in the next 6 months to make an automated webinar actually worth it. It's a medium-term game, as Bryce was just talking about. They're going to see it pay off in a couple of weeks more than what their a single live webinar would do. But it takes some time to to make sure it's working, and then see how it is, how it's actually performing. So determine what would actually make this make sense and how much is the price of what I'm selling. 3, define who the ideal customer for that offering is. Get super clear who the ideal customer is so you can speak to that person, and everybody that is an ideal prospect for what it is that you are selling for that product, not just who you want to get on the webinar. 4, select a problem, a very specific problem that you can help solve for that customer in 20 to 35 minutes or so. And that's what like that pure content is about 20 to 35 minutes. That is part of a larger set of problems that your main offering solves. 5, complete the presentation outline. We're going to talk about, give you some stuff that'll help you on the actual outline and in way that you can structure that. So complete the outline, the flow and the skeleton of how you want to move through the journey of the presentation itself. A lot of people seem to overlook that, even though it's the most important thing. 6, complete your narrative, right? Your narrative is the messaging and positioning that's going to make all of the landing pages, the ads, the emails have a continuity through the message into the presentation and all the way to the offer. It also is essential so that when you have other people working on the project, it doesn't have to be you and in your brain the message and what you should say and what words you should be using that actually will resonate with that ideal customer. So when you have a narrative, when you have a single page document that has everything that you need, someone else can go pull from that. That's how we do that, and yeah, it's a whole nother conversation and topic on how to really do that well and scale and have your have a team be able to assemble things. 7, design the journey. Right, the journey that someone's going to go through to become aware, to register, to attend, to see calls to action, to take action, so on and so forth. Right, so actually design the journey. What do you want to have happen so that we can reverse engineer it and then actually go build what we want to have happen? And this is also where we're going to decide, well, what is the strategic approach we're taking? Is it a simulated live webinar? Is it an on-demand replay? Is it really just a video series or a video? Get clear on what you're trying, what environment you're trying to create with that. And this will lend itself to the way you approach the strategy. It'll also lend itself to the technology that you choose to use, okay? 8, blueprint all the assets. Get clear on all of the things you actually need. So you're clear on the scope and expense, essentially, in time, energy, effort, and money to make this thing actually happen. So get clear on all of those assets. What are the pages? What are the registration page, the thank you page, the confirmation page, the expiration page, follow-up emails, all that sort of stuff. Get super clear on all of that so you know how much time and energy you should budget to it. 9, and this is for you, or George, select your tool stack, right? There's a lot of options out there. They're not infinite. Let's talk about that when you guys have questions, specifics. I believe we can probably speak to that clearly. But is it EverWebinar? Is it Easy Webinar? Is it Stealth Seminar? Is it a homemade, custom built version? Is it Demio? Is it, GoToWebinar, etc., right? So get clear on what tool stack you want to facilitate that, and the strategy will guide some of that as well. And then finally, assign owners to each of those tasks, right? Every single task of all of the assets and all the stuff that has to get done, from a content standpoint to a technical standpoint to a connection and implementation standpoint, somebody has to own it. If it's not owned, it won't get done. So you get clear on knowing this is just project management at that point, so you actually get it done. If you're the only person who's doing it all, then your name is by all of the stuff, right? But that's where you can start to offload and enroll team members, contractors, freelancers, etc. It also, when you see your name by everything, you start to minimize some of the unnecessary components of your journey. You're like, you know what, I don't need 27 emails. Maybe 5 is enough. And so I don't have to write all those others. And finally, GSD, right? Get stuff done. When you're clear on those owners, there's nothing left to do but actually just do the work. Okay, so there's your checklist. That's go through those components, and you really can't fail if you follow those steps. Okay, let me know I'm gonna stop there for a second. What questions do you have? We're not gonna talk a lot about the different tools. You can ask questions about them, but we're gonna, like I said, start to shift into prescriptive. Here's the way we're doing it. Here's the way Plus This is working. Here's what we're doing for our clients, and actually get into it. If you want to talk about some of these tools now, let's spend a second on it. George, you had a question, and you said you're trying to decide what you want. What are you thinking? What's it down between? Let's address that real quick so I know at least we scratch that itch before we move forward. And anybody else who is evaluating tools or tool sets, I'd love to give you our opinion. We have used, at some point or another, we've used all of these, and so we could probably speak to them.
Yeah, I like
cool.
Jorge's answer. You can talk to that. Go for it.
Okay, and yeah, so we want to see how plus this is used. Well, that's the main thing we're gonna show you on this. So cool. Let's get into the context of where and why you're doing this in your business. I think people want to dive in a lot of times to the tech and the tactic, but understand what you're doing. High level at a playbook. Ultimately, you're trying to get through a client journey. You've got sources and you've got lead plays that drive to your selling, prospect plays that drive to your fulfillment plays, right? So where does an automated webinar actually fit in that? Because it's not the only thing. All of the examples I showed earlier, it is one play in a playbook. It's one play in a playbook that is supported and supplemented by other plays as well to drive your business results that you want. And so here's an example. This is actually a real playbook with a client of ours that wanted to do an automated webinar. They also were doing a video series, and they also had a lead magnet PDF download. Okay, and all of them were driving to a one-to-one sales consultation that were driving to a live workshop. I believe it's like a $5,000 or $7,000 workshop for this, and the goal was, hey, can we get 10 sales from that? Okay. In the month of only October, they were just focused on building an automated webinar. Okay. Now, this is where we get specific. So we're recommending doing an on-demand automated webinar, not a simulated webinar that has, fake chat happening in the side that people, that there's urgency that, it's starting now, and it starts in the middle if you show up later, any of that stuff. We're actually, the whole strategy here is that it's on demand. They know that they're watching a recording. It's not a video that they can watch at any time. They have to watch it then, but it is not simulated live. There's multiple reasons for that, but at its simplest, people are smart and we kind of don't want to insult them, and it's more practical, right? So we're talking about on-demand training, on-demand masterclass, on-demand, education, and so forth. So I'm seeing some feedback saying, yeah, it feels bogus and hurts credibility and so forth. Agreed. Like people know what's happening. It's not live. If it's live, engage people while it's live, like we're doing that now. And if people know that, hey, this was live and is a recording and I'm viewing a recording, they're good with that. And there's some cool stuff you can do if you use like Wistia or some other players use, but Wistia, you can actually put chapters and timestamps and let people, and I've tested this with my own personal webinars or evergreen webinars, let them scrub through and jump based on the title you put in the chapters inside of Wistia. I was fascinated to see that more people consumed more when I gave them controls, and they could go where they wanted. They end up watching it all. They just watched it out of order, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting. I'll have to try that with ours too.
Yeah, like I don't have a ton of volume. We haven't tested that for ourselves to talk much about it, but it was really kind of interesting. So there's still some psychology here. I'm seeing some questions be like, hey, if it's on demand, then why recommend a webinar software, right? After the registration, can you just send them to a landing page with an embedded video? Essentially, yeah, we're simplifying that. And the recommendation is we're not using any of those third-party platforms, right? But we do want to understand the psychology of urgency and scarcity, right? With being realistic, like we just talked about, and that urgency is important, as well as simplifying the tech stack, right? We want it to be simple there, and there's still performance and triggers while they watch it that we want to be able to speak to. Because at the end of the day, why would someone do this? The whole idea is scalability, being on demand, and consumption. I want them to consume certain things until they do what we want, and that's the only components that we're actually keeping there. Okay, so we're recommending this. So for the rest of what we're going to talk about specifically, it is this focus strategically that we're going to talk about. Okay, so here's what a journey map looks like, and this is what we're going to kind of dive into here with this automated masterclass. So this is the way we map out a journey. You can do whatever you want. You can do it. I mean, essentially, it's a whiteboard. We're just finding a way to organize that, and this is one of the ways that we organize that. On the left, you see the milestone of what it is that the lead or prospect has done. Between each of those milestones, you have the components of the journey. Those are usually assets. And then on the right column, you have what happens if they don't, right? What is they don't do the next milestone? What is the exit? What do I kick off then? So that's the simple framework that you're looking at here. So in this case, we have an automated masterclass. We're trying to drive them to request a consultation. That's the whole point. It kind of weaves itself down the page here. So the first thing, I want them to click the ad. That's how they start the play. After they click the ad, I want them to opt in for the class. After the class, I want them to request the consultation. And after the consultation, after they request it, I want them actually to schedule. And then, of course, after they schedule, I kick off the consultation play that says I want them to actually show up, and so on and so forth. So we're contained in from clicking the ad and watching to go ahead and get scheduled on the consultation. That's the focus of this entire thing. So that's the milestone going down the left. Then we get into what are the assets and steps in each of those phases. So once they click the ad, this is how we're designing that journey. What do they see? What happens next? So just think through these steps, right? So for this one, they have the masterclass landing page with the video on it talking about, specifically the masterclass, not the offer afterwards, just why you'd want to get on the training, the masterclass, whatever it is. And this one we built select the time and date of class. So this was a bit of at the time, actually, you know what, now that I realize this one was using EverWebinar, right? So we've simplified slightly from this one, but you'll see here it was like, okay, select the time and date of the class. And then once they opted in and hit that, if, depending on the time, if they watched on demand or if they chose to say, hey, I want to watch this tomorrow, or whatever the time availability was, we give them the confirmation page with that selected date and time. Cool, put that in your calendar. If, again, it's in the future, then we have a confirmation email with that selected time. And if it's far enough in the future, we have the reminder email for that selected date and time, and clearly automation allows that to happen. If they watch it on immediately on demand, then they wouldn't get into these things, and ultimately they end up on the masterclass page, which to somebody's question earlier is like essentially that's all an automated webinar is, right? It's a page hosting a replay video, and that video it either has playback controls or it doesn't, right? That's really it. Okay, then from there, from the webinar itself, we want them to request a consult. After they request the consult, they go to the consult request page, which is a registration and landing page of why they should get on the consultation. And then we want them to actually schedule based, looking at a calendar using, for us, it's Appointment Core. It could be Calendly, it could be whatever your tool is. We use Appointment Core to schedule with the rep. Once they're scheduled, now we want to have them see a confirmation page. For us, we have a video with the rep they've scheduled with talking about why that was a great idea, what to expect, how to come prepared, and just making them, feel confident about what they're going to do and can expect. And then we'll follow up with a confirmation email that has the calendar link, so that actually goes in there. And then we have an intro email from the rep more specifically that introduces the rep in more thorough detail, right? Okay, so that's what happens if they click the ad at the beginning. What happens if they click the ad but don't opt in for the class? For us, right, we call those exits, right? What happens if they never opt in for the class? Obviously, there's things that we can do if they don't do what we want them to do, and that's where the exits come in. So for us, if they click an ad but don't opt in, that's where we can do retargeting with whatever platform you're using. Let's just say it's Facebook, which is where we run this, run this traffic most of the time. So we're going to retarget them, and we can put another ad into it to the same play if that's what we choose to do. And this one it was. And then you see these other exits. All right. If they opt in for class but don't request the consult, we're going to put them into our drip or our long-term nurture. And once they have at the bottom, once they've scheduled and gotten all that, we're going to end the play, and it starts the consultation play. So that's how we go through and design all of the components and all of the scenarios that we want to focus on with the journey that the client, or the lead in this case, goes through. So I'll pause there too. What questions do you have? And I'd love to know, how much do you do this, right? Do you do it on a whiteboard, et cetera? What questions do you have about this or the mechanics of this and the tactic itself? Would love to address those things if you've got appetite for them.
Yeah, no, this is really good content. I love the way that you guys always map out the journey for the customer. It makes it really easy to organize what it is at a high level that you're trying to accomplish, so you can build out what you actually need to do to execute the strategy, basically. But this
Yeah,
all
you got it.
makes sense.
Yep, cool. Yep, that's the idea, right? Because we humans and entrepreneurs, we're bad guessers, right? We're really terrible guessers. We always underestimate what it's actually going to take, and there's always, as you all know, right? There's always that that thing we didn't think about, that technology we forgot to connect, or the content we didn't write yet that we've got to drop in, and all that sort of stuff. And so this is a measure twice, cut once kind of approach, and it allows you to implement and execute faster than you ever could when you get clear on this. And it helps you not, well, I was gonna say helps, it prevents you from not wasting time in other areas. And that's the most precious and non-renewable resource that we have, of course. So then we get into the blueprint. For us now, it's getting clear on every single asset. So this gets super technical, and it might even seem overwhelming. I'm not gonna talk a long time about it, but basically, you've got these assets at the top that we saw in the journey earlier, right? So what are they going to click and then see? Well, they're going to see the landing page, and then there's the video on the landing page, and then there's the registration page or pop-up, depending on what you envision and what tool you're using. There's the confirmation page, there's a thank you video on the confirmation page, and then let's say there's a confirmation email, and that's just the component we're looking at. So those assets have to get built, created, hosted, right? They're valuable. And if they're not valuable, then you shouldn't put them in the journey, because it's going to cost you something to make them, right? So that's why we call them assets, is because they are valuable. You should get a lot of mileage out of them, and they're not an afterthought, right? An email should be valuable, okay? All right, so then, and only then, can you get clear on, well, great, let's just look at the landing page. What's the content that goes in and on the landing page, right? Not all assets are created equal. Landing page is a lot more expensive. I use the word expensive in quotes, right? It just has more content. It takes more time. It takes more creativity. It takes more substance, right? More thinking. And the content is what goes in and on it, right? So there's the video, there's copy, there's the logo and other icons, there's other graphic, there's the button, right? There's the fields on the form. Someone has to make decisions about that. Both design decisions and substance decisions, right, of what's actually happening there. Journey decisions on the page itself, right? Which is why templates are a great way to expedite these things. Then and only then, right, when you know, okay, this is what I want it to look like and what I need to actually say, then and only then does the tool actually become super relevant, right? And so you get to pick what tool am I going to use based on what I'm trying to do, and also based on what I already have, right? We don't go buy a new tool every single time. So for the sake of this one, let's say we're going to use Leadpages as the landing page builder, and we're going to use Wistia as the video hosting, right? Video tool. And as soon as we have that tool identified, then and only then can we get clear and understand what are the skills needed what are the technical skills needed to use the tool, and what are the creative skills necessary to create the content, right? And so in this case, someone has to know how to use Leadpages, right? It's not super complicated. Tools can be really, a lot of them are easy now, but it's still, you have to know how to use it, right? And if you jump into one tool, there may be nuances to how the builder works and so forth. So it's just something to be aware of. You have to have the copy skills. Someone has to write the copy. And then in this case, there has to be some degree of landing page design. Again, this is where templates start to help. Let someone else be your designer, but you still got to fit some things, size some things, and have an eye for what actually performs. And finally, then and only then, you get clear on who's the owner of each of those skills. And this is where it's easy for you as an entrepreneur to get bogged down. I don't want to get into a whole lot of project management stuff and entrepreneurial leadership or whatever, but this is where we get bogged down, is it's our name across a lot of these things. And this takes a ton, which is why mapping the journey and actually quantifying the assets, it allows us to know how big of a check we're writing with our time and energy. All right. So who's going to do those things? And it allows you to say, do I actually have the skills to do that? Do I have the skills, or do I have the time to learn it? And what's my time worth, and should somebody else do that? So that concept helps you get clear on exactly what you need to do before you go do it. And it helps you evaluate how valuable is that thing in the first place, which is one of the reasons why strategically we've actually lightened this webinar strategy to something that is lighter, right? To find out, is it going to work in the first place before I go spend a bunch and build a really, heavy tech stack on trying to make all that work. Hey, you go through all of that, and essentially you just get a checklist, right? And this is how you actually go get things done. And like I said, people don't successfully launch any plays, specifically automated webinars, for one of two reasons. They don't get launched because of the tech overwhelm, because they don't know all the things that are necessary to get it done. They don't see it, or they underestimate it. or two, they get stuck with the content, right? They don't know what to write and what to say and so forth. And so you're just getting clear on what's all the stuff you need to do here. And for us is a screenshot of that, what we were just looking at. Okay, so set up these things, build these things, shoot these videos, write these videos, implement these, so on and so forth. So you get clear on what the work is. Okay, let's look at some of those assets. And these are real screenshots of what we're using as a template and what we've used in real life to get people on one of our webinars. So you can see even some of the like the templatized language there as well. So feel free, right? We're going to give you some stuff at the end, but I mean, I'm leaving it up there for you to screenshot away if that's relevant for you, right? So here's what the landing page looks like, and you could make a million infinite different versions of it, but essentially it's that, right? Strong headline, strong copy, strong subtitle, subheadline under that, clear call to action above the fold. If it's got a video, you've got that video there as well. And what we find is people don't often watch the video first, right? And you can do one without a video that is just as effective as one with a video there as well, right? So it's all about time and consumption and barrier to them doing what you want them to do. Yeah. Then for us, there's a webinar page, and this is a simple look at it, right? So after the registration, then it's great. Here's the play, and again, you can have it autoplay. And autoplay right away without controls, or you can give them play buttons, and that's, again, there's reasons why you would want to do that, and we've tested a few different ones. It's ultimately what you're trying to accomplish. I think link is an important thing. I try to consider what happens if something times out. There is a small important but small consideration if you're using Wistia and you autoplay the video, it won't autoplay on mobile. So it's something, some technical thing to understand about. Well, great. A lot of people, let's say 40 to 60% are going to watch this on mobile, and it's not going to autoplay for them. They're going to have to push play anyway. So what do you want to do with with that setting or not, right? Yeah. But essentially, you've got that, and you can put things on the page. You can time reveals. You can time when calls to action happen and so forth on the webinar page to create the exact same environment that EverWebinar is going to create, or Stealth Seminar is going to create, or so forth, with time pops and reveals and so forth. Bryce, were you going to say something?
No, like it's just funny because this is exactly how we did ours too. And I'm like, yep. Went through that little setting on Wistia and was like, I don't know what we're going to do. Actually, I have a question about the controls, what you're thinking there. So we ended up opting out of letting them skip around in the video because the content itself, I felt like if they skipped through it, they wouldn't understand the value of like what we were going to give them if they took a free trial with Plusthis, basically.
Totally.
So we went away with that. And what have you found, or what are you seeing as far as what people do, letting people skip around or not?
Great question. So like I said, so my default would be, don't give them controls, right? Don't give them controls. But two things probably should happen. One, well, I'll give you an analogy. Well, I'll give you the answer and then I'll give you the analogy. First off, people want to know how long they got to wait. They want to know how long it's going to be, right? So the analogy is, have you ever had like a personal trainer or been to like a fitness class or whatever, and they make you do like a wall sit or a plank, a elbow bridge plank or whatever, and the instructor doesn't tell you how long you're going to hold it?
That would be awful.
It's torture. But if they tell you, hey, it's 30 seconds, like, you're going to grin and bear it for 30 seconds. You've got a mental milestone to get to. People want the same thing. And so having the time of that, if it's not embedded as part of the functionality of the video player, because you've hidden that or whatever, then type it, put it in there. Hey, this is this long, right? The second thing is people also want to know when they can expect certain points of content. So I love Wistia's chapter feature. It's super cool. But if I don't want them actually to jump, then put a real small time-stamped agenda, like if you're watching replaying an interview on a blog post or something like that. Those kind of key 5 to maybe 12 or whatever. I think that's really helpful for people. You could do it in the sidebar, so it's still all above the fold. They don't have to scroll. That could be a great way to do it if you don't want to give the controls, and that would be my recommendation for the default.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Cool. The reason I started testing mine is, like I said, for Authority Football. It was a 2-hour webinar. I was like, well, and I shot it once. I wasn't going to shoot it again. I literally was practicing it for the first time, decided to shoot it after building the deck. I didn't have time to do it again because it's a side business. I got some other things to do. And I was like, I don't even know if people are going to get on and register. So I just needed something. It was 2 hours, way longer than I wanted it to be. So I split test one without the play button, without the controls, and I did another one with the controls. And for me, because it was longer, and I gave controls and then I gave the milestones, people started moving around, and you can see kind of how they jumped. It was interesting. I don't have a lot of data to make that recommendation, but it certainly was interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So your webinar page essentially is a playback page, right? Let's get into the triggers and why and where Plus This comes in, and essentially how Plus This starts to replace the need for a third-party, evergreen webinar platform like EverWebinar. So we were using EverWebinar. We used it for our clients. We used a couple other stuff too, but we're using EverWebinar. I think that is a great tool. So if you're wondering, like, hey, which one should I use? What do you think of EverWebinar? I think this would be a great time to ask those questions. I think EverWebinar is a great tool, especially if you've already got Webinar Jam. It's good to go. It connects directly to Infusionsoft. If you're using Infusionsoft, it's good. For us, we were seeing instability. Instability specifically in when tags are being applied, and that was screwing with our clients' client journey, right? And the leads and prospects, the timing of what messaging they were getting in the emails and when they were getting follow-ups, and it was unpredictable. And we worked hard to trace it, and we found that, and it wasn't an isolated case. So that's what we found. And so this is how this was born, by the way, is we started finding this is costing people money. We need to rebuild something fast until we figure out what's going on, and see if we can not be at the mercy of something else, right? And again, that was a few specific cases with us. That's not to say it's happened everywhere. We didn't validate it with anybody else. We just kept moving. So I want to make that really clear. I endorse EverWebinar. We use it ourselves. I've used it in my own business, but we started lightening it to create stability and simplicity. That's where Plus This comes in. And so rather than use, the third-party tool to create the triggers, we knew that, hey, well, let's use Plus This. We're trying to just do the same thing. Now, why is that valuable? It's a matter of having, metrics versus metrics that have meaning, and then having metrics or actions that actually can trigger other things. So when you look at analytics of a video, it tells you some metrics that aren't super, super meaningful. It tells you how long someone watched, for example. That's interesting and relevant, but doesn't have a lot of meaning to it, because depends on the content of your video and when certain things are said. We want to know, when are they seeing and hearing what I want them to see or hear, and what's the correlation of those moments of the content with their likelihood to do something else, whether it's leave or buy or click or whatever it is, as well as the third thing, which is, can I actually trigger or automate based on those things happening or those time milestones occurring. And that's the power of the Plus This triggers, right? So here's a screenshot of one of ours, and ultimately we want to know a couple key things, and we're going to show you the campaign in a second, so you can just see what that looks like. But essentially we want to know who registered, right? We want to know who showed up and attended and started the video. Then we want to know, the next most important milestone, if you don't have any others, and you can track whatever you want. 5 minutes, they've been on 10 minutes, they've been on 15 minutes. But we want to know, when did they do something or see something? So the next one for us is, did they see the call to action, which is based on your content. You've got to go set the time for that. In this case, you can see there actually, I think I've got some stuff there, right? So as this video is watched, how should we apply the tags, right? So when they're going through, when do you want things to happen? So the first one for us is, okay, at minute 1, apply the tag that they started the webinar, right? We want to make sure they actually get into it and started it. Showing and bouncing in under a minute, we're not going to count that as someone who has started it. So when they get to minute 1, Plus This applies the trigger, tells Infusionsoft that they have started it. Now they're moving through the campaign in the appropriate place. We're turning off automation, we're turning on new automation, right? And then at the bottom one, then we have, let's say, the call to action, right? So at 45 minutes, they saw the call to action, and now we can, shift our messaging, move them through, and have the analytics for how things are performing. And you can do this with other parts as well. This is what is going to help you optimize, right? This is what's going to help you optimize it. In a minute, I'm going to show you one that did not perform well for a client, and ultimately it was because the call to action was like in the last 30 seconds of the video, and people were bailing before that point. So we simply moved the call to action, right? Okay, here's what the campaign looks like. That's it. Like it's really really simple, and hopefully that is a point that you can take with you. So ultimately we start the campaign, right? And you can see, hey, they requested the webinar, but we need them to watch. And you see the next tag is they started watching, and that's triggered by plus this. Once they started watching, now we've got context to make sure that they need to finish watching. So if they don't, if they bail before they see the call to action, we're going to get them information relevant to the call to action. That can be, hey, go back and watch this. Some people will choose to say, I don't want you to go back and actually watch it. I want to, I'm gonna give it to you in another medium. I may explain some stuff from the webinar. I may acknowledge he didn't finish, but here's what I want you to know, or did you know this? You can kind of change it up. For us, at this point, usually we're driving them back to the webinar. Once they view the call to action, then we're clearly pushing them to schedule and making sure that that they've taken that schedule. And then once they've scheduled, we want them to stop, and we're going to kick off the other play, right? And at any point, you see those exits where we're going to start the push campaign, right? It's the long-term nurture, so to speak, right? So real pretty simple stuff, and clearly it plays a role in a larger game plan with the long-term nurture play, as well as the scheduled needs to attend consult play. Cool, got a couple questions. Let's see. Started watching, needs to finish is an empty sequence. Okay, so the second one here, Nick is asking about. It could, so yeah, it's kind of what I was just talking about, Nick. It could be empty, where you're literally not going to follow up. It also could be a nudge. It could be like an empty cart, abandoned cart that says, hey, I need you to go back and see that. So you get to decide how you want to fill that. But we know they were interested in the content, but they didn't get the call to action. They never made it that far. So there's information they actually are ignorant to that they're probably going to want. So for us, we're actually going to go back to them to make sure that they're aware of what that call to action was. Only two ways really to do it, right? To reiterate, get them back on the content and have them, and this is another interesting thing, have them rewatch the webinar, or think about if they got to minute 44 and the call to action is minute 45. That'd be ridiculous to have them want to watch 44 minutes all over to get to the 45th minute. So the next thing, that's where you can give them a replay at that point and say, here it is again. So you can just go ahead and scrub through yourself. That would be one way to do it. You could get super fancy. You get super fancy if you want it. I do not recommend it, and actually do more triggers and know that, hey, they got this far. You could do some timestamp stuff and probably try to make a recommendation of where they left off or whatever. I wouldn't recommend you get too crazy of trying to deliver the video right where they left off. So the other thing you can do is you can pull out a section of that video where it's like, hey, you missed this. I want you to see it. For example, in the MBA webinars we did, we would do exactly that. We'd pull out the important sections, right, and give a bite-sized version, the most important version, said, hey, this is one of the top Q&As we get, or this is the most important FAQ or whatever. And so we'd give them that section. So basically, we would just pull out a chunk of, a bite of the steak and deliver just that and say, hey, make sure you see this, right? That's one way to do it. Another way you can do it, of course, any medium, you could do it with text or copy or whatever.
Right. Yeah. We've done this out of like, if we don't have the controls on the first one and they don't finish it, then we follow up and say, thanks for watching part of it. We've unlocked the full video for you so you can skip to wherever you need to and stuff. So we found that's been helpful for people too.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an easy way to do it, right? And again, you're just thinking through, what's the journey I want? One of the, like when you're making decisions, I think the best thing to do is simply ask, for me, it's like convenience, right? It's consideration and convenience. What would be best for them to actually consume it? And I think a lot of times we try to, like marketers think about like, how do I trick somebody into doing something? And really it's like, they want it. They registered for it. They're interested in it. They want it. And if your content doesn't stink, there's a reason that they left, right? They got busy. They had to put their phone down there. They underestimated the time it was going to take and they want to come back later. There's bunches of reasons. So you just think, how do I make sure this is available for them? And we think in that considerate way, I don't know, I think it makes great experiences. A couple cool questions here on the technical stuff. So this is good. Thanks for asking. And we'll spend as much time here as you guys want. Drew asked, hey, what do the start push tags do? So for us, that first start button, the way 6th Division builds our Infusionsoft campaigns, we've got a few kind of key parts of our methodology to make things sort of scalable and modular so we can build on things later and so forth. But essentially, we have all campaigns start with what we call a quote unquote start button, which is a tag that's getting applied. And what that does, and it would be below this part of the screenshot, we would have some like utility sequences there. So for an example, if I want to drive multiple sources of traffic into this campaign, and I've got landing pages, affiliate links, I've got, I've got whatever, social traffic, paid traffic, organic traffic, there's different entry points. It gets kind of messy and ugly. It also starts to create, a lot of times starts to create decision diamonds, and we like to avoid decision diamonds, and especially complex ones, as much as possible. We definitely like to avoid the complex ones because you got to rebuild them, or you can have logic fail and so forth. So we try to keep it real simple. So below this, and for us it'd be in the bottom left, which again, it's just not, it didn't show that, so it wouldn't be confusing, would be those other entry points. So if I add another tag because I want to do a second landing page from a different source, I can just have that landing page come in, do the exact same thing that the other entry points triggers are, which is going into a sequence that says, hey, push the start button tag. And so it pushes a start button tag down here. Let's see, where's my mouse? Down here, where that would be, pushes a start button tag, and it ultimately pushes that start button there. So it allows us to do that. Okay, and rather than start button, Drew also saying, no, the start push. Okay, for us, the push, the language of push right there is the long-term nurture, which starts to cycle one campaign to the next based on the narrative. And in this one, if you go back to that game plan I showed earlier, where the automated webinar was one of 3 total sort of lead nurturing plays, this is what that would cycle them through. Is, hey, they've seen the automated webinar, but they haven't seen the the PDF, right? And so now it's going to say, it's going to keep that narrative going, that higher level picture narrative there. Cool. Let's see here. All right, cool. Moving on. So let me know if you've got any other questions on this. One more from Drew also was, hey, why are there 2 scheduled consults? I'm trying to remember why it splits over there in the right. There clearly is a really, really good explanation for it. I'm trying to think what the decision diamond was for this one. It's one of our coaches that built it. It could, it could be at this point, it's probably the different owner. So you can have unique language between sales rep A or sales rep B, right? So it's like, hey, the decision diamond is saying, hey, if the owner is this person, send this information. If the owner is that person, send this other information. They're just replicates of the same thing. And then they come back to the end. So that's the reason I believe that's there. And can send a different, clearly, well, I'll stop there. If you know Infusionsoft, there's a lot of variables you can use, and you don't have to build a lot of sequences, but sometimes it's easier just to build a separate sequence. All right, a lot of Infusionsoft users and plus this users. So before I move on in the strategy and show you kind of some of the final pieces, I want to make sure that we've answered any questions you have, because this is the tech, right? This is what do the landing pages look like, and what are you using for the landing pages and the registration, and plus this and so forth. So this is the time to throw those questions here, and then we're going to move on to the next piece in just a second in the absence of those questions.
Yeah, while they're having a little bit of time, if they need to ask anything else, are you going to talk about the urgency side of things with this too, as far as like when you make this webinar available, is it limited for a certain amount of time and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so generally, yeah, so the way we build it too is it is limited, right? So, you can easily make those small tweaks for the way you guys want to run it. But you do want to say, hey, do this now. You can, what we'll do is we'll make it available for a certain period of time. And then the page it flips and the page is an expiration page. We use smart links to do that, right? So it's like, hey, this is open for you for 24 hours, so watch it. And if it's not, you pull it away. And for us, it's like, if you want to re-register, like you can come back in, you can get it later, right? But we want to make sure we're just, again, for me, it's almost that consideration part of making it sure that it's top of mind and that there's some urgency, some actual urgency, not some, fake inflated urgency, but some urgency of, hey, you want to watch this. I know you've got, you're busy, but there's a timer on this. So watch it now. Because, how many times have you guys, if you're anything like me, opened something that's a recording, put it on one of, at least for me, one of my like 27 open tabs, and wanted to come back later and never gotten to it, right? So you do that a little bit to create some urgency there. That's the, if it's right on demand, watch now. That's one of the things I recommend. The other thing you can do is you can delay it. You can give them an option to say, hey, when do you want to watch this? And you can of course time deliver that. later. And you know, there's a few different ways. Of course, you can do that with timers. You can have a page that is going to delay until then. Again, you can use smart links. The other way to do that is to simply deliver access via email and just use a delay timer in Infusionsoft that says, cool, here's that page now, and they can watch it when they open, and you still have the timed scarcity, or I should say urgency, of how long that'll stay open.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for asking.
Cool. Yep. Nick's got a good question on, to use internal Infusionsoft landing page builder or external landing pages. Great question, Nick. I'm going to show you exactly what we use and how we solve it for clients. And the answer is yes, we use the Infusionsoft landing page builder and external landing page builders, depending on what the client already has for us. So you can do this inside of an Infusionsoft landing page with the new Infusionsoft landing page builder to look pretty dang good, with both the registration page, the replay page, the expiration page, the call to action page. You can do all of that there. And the other two tools we will use are lead pages and we'll ClickFunnels. And for our clients, it's kind of what do they already have, and we've got those things built out. And what I'm going to show you guys in just a little bit, if you want, like I said, we've got this kit. I'm going to show you, we actually have all of the templates built in the tool, depending on which tool that you use. So good question. If you've got more tech stuff, keep shooting them at me, and we'll hit on them. I want to wrap to the kind of the final pieces here to tie it all together, and then we can talk more about the other key pieces. So there's a lot here. It might feel a little bit complicated, right? And if you don't consider yourself a techie, right, then this is like definitely the most complicated part, right? So now I'm going to share with you how to make this all work in a minute without getting overwhelmed by all of that. But I want to get to promise number 3, which I was talking about earlier, and it's how to communicate your message in a way that positions you as the authority so that they actually want to do what you want them to do, and it makes selling much easier for you, right? So this is the easy piece to miss, and it might be the most important piece, right? You're better off doing just a 3-minute video with good messaging than trying to build a bunch of technology that's automated and so forth that doesn't have good messaging. So it's so easy to overlook this and think that the mechanics are going to make it actually sell. It's not the case, right? We want simple, consistent mechanics, and technology that makes a smooth journey, but we've got to have really solid messaging. So the difference between a working automated webinar which is technology that makes it, technically and mechanically sound, and the difference between that and then a performing automated webinar, which is one that actually converts and creates the results that you want. And the difference is the messaging. Okay, so if you don't have the right message that resonates with your potential customers, then no one is going to buy from you, and you'll have done a ton of work for nothing, right? And we've seen that tons of times, and you can go and troubleshoot the tech all day, and it ultimately comes down to, why aren't people doing what we want them to do? Is it a tech or a journey problem, or is it simply a message problem? So write this down. I'm going to talk to you about what you need to consider to make sure that your messaging, your substance, and your content is on point. Okay, if you want people to understand you, you must first make them feel understood. Because that's the key, right? And there's not any sort of meta, psychology happening right now on this. But the question I would ask of you, we're trying to educate you on something that we know is going to be valuable and you have an interest in, but do you feel understood, right? Has Bryce established that he is like you and understands you? And have I established that I know what it's like to be in your shoes, whether you have a big team or whether you are working by yourself, and you're a solopreneur, and you've been up at 3 in the morning trying to figure out how to send a freaking HTTP post, right? So when you feel understood about those things, people, they're more likely to move to receive what it is that you want them to do. So if you want them to understand you, make them feel understood. And if the answer is no, JMac, I don't think you get me at all, then I have failed. So forgive me, and we'll take another swag at that in the future. I don't have any responses yet that have said I failed. I hope that's not the case. Okay, so here's exactly what you need to do in your presentation. So this is where you want to take some notes if you want to take some notes. First off, number 1 is what to think about. This will also help you. This actually creates a chronological outline for your pre-sale. First, if they're failing, which they might be, because this is why you're helping them and why your content's relevant. If they're failing, help them realize that their failures are justified, that it's not their fault, so to speak. There's a reason why they haven't been able to have the breakthrough that you are going to help them have. That's the important thing. Okay, 2, eliminate their fears by letting them know that you actually understand where they're coming from and why those failures are justified. So it creates the authenticity and authority that they would want to listen to you and do what you want them to do later, because you can help them. 3, let them know you're on the same team, right? That you are their guide. You are on their team. You want what they want, and you have the ability to help guide them to that. 4, you want to address their suspicions or objections up front. So it's one of those things of, hey, you may have tried this before, or you may have heard this before. You may be thinking this. Here's why this is different. 5, you want to encourage their dreams. You want to encourage their dreams. And this is one of the key things psychologically, right? And all of the persuasion experts in the last 100 years, copyright experts, so forth, this is actually the one that is maybe the most important, is that you're encouraging their dreams, because ultimately people make emotional decisions all the time. And so you want to encourage your dreams that it is possible for you. And all you really need is you need the right information, the right guide, the right tool set, or whatever it is. And of course, if you're selling something that is legit, you've proven that. So it's, you're just aligning their dreams with your solution. And you just want to make sure you're deliberate about making sure that happens. 6, make sure you know that your values are aligned with theirs, right? That not only do you want what they want, but that you are like them from even a moral, ethical, kind of perspective standpoint. And then 7, give them massive value by providing actionable advice, things they literally can go do that will have a positive impact on them, immediately or nearly immediately, depending on what that is, right? So that's the important thing that happens when you are working through your presentation. Now, if you take these principles and add them into a proven system, like the one we've just outlined, then you really can't lose. If you've got those things dialed in, they work, they perform, right? Because you're being deliberate about aligning the key ingredients to make it actually perform. So we're going to take some questions here, and if you've got them, and I told you we're going to go through those promises. I also told you, there's an opportunity for us to be able to help you if this is a really important play for you. And you're one of 2 people right now. You're on the left with Mr. Ron Swanson, and you are a woodworker and want to home make and carve and create your own table and furniture, right? That's like you enjoy the process. Not only you not only enjoy the table, or in this case the canoe, right? You enjoy not just sitting at it, you enjoy the making of it. And I know a lot of you are that way. So hopefully, and that's what the giveaway that Bryce is going to give you at the end will do. It'll give you those templates, or not the templates, but the journey map and the blueprint, so you can see step by step, these are the key components of what we're doing live and the things that you've looked at here. So if that's you, make sure when we get to the end here, you capitalize on taking advantage of getting the plus this and the journey and the blueprints. Or when it comes to furniture, you're like, you know what? I want it just delivered and assembled, right? I want it delivered and I want to put it together, and I just want to live in it. I don't want to be carving it. I don't want to spend the time actually doing it. And maybe that's you on the right. So right now, you're one of those people. And so we're gonna take some questions in a second. I'm gonna show you, if it's you on the right, I want to show you what we've done, and it's a cool new little kit that we've done that is everything you need to get this off the ground. Everything we possibly could do for you without you being involved, that gets you like 90% of the way there, to be able to launch a high-performing automated webinar yourself with exactly what it is that we're talking about. So this was an experiment we ran last month to see if this kit would be interesting for people, and then if it would work, and it has. So we wanted to bring it to the Plus This audience. For those of you that are not Ron Swanson, you'd rather have some sweet, I don't know what, Art Deco, IKEA furniture or something that is done for you or ready almost for you. All it's got to do is be connected to your individual business. So I'll pause there before I talk about what that looks like, to see if we've got any other questions, and to see, Bryce, if you've got any specifics for them on or questions on how they're going to redeem their the promise that we had for them at the beginning.
Yeah, no, we're going to make it really simple. So if you're one of the folks on the left that's like, okay, I have more resources and time than I do money, and I'm going to be able to build this, but I just needed that little help of like, here's the template of the like journey, here's the campaign template in Infusionsoft, I need to write my emails, I need to make my landing pages, I have all the notes for where my videos will go, or like what's happening from step to step. Then all you need to do is sign up for a free trial plus this from this webinar. If you just go to our website, there's a little button on the top right. You can sign up for that, and you'll automatically get all the cool free bonuses that we talked about earlier. And so that's really simple for you. if you're like the Ron Swanson type. It's not a lot of the hand-holding stuff. We do have Plus this support. We're happy to help you with that. And we'll also do an implementation call with you for free, where we can pull up that campaign and help you plug in your pieces where you need it. But like you said, we're not going to be able to write the emails or make the landing pages or do all the other stuff that you saw on that checklist that JMax showed. So that's kind of the first offering if anyone is looking for more of that kind of solution.
Cool. And so if you are not, or you're interested in seeing more specifically even exactly what we're building for our clients right now, what we are literally building for ourselves, we're translating our existing automated training class from the custom platform we built. We've translated it and are about to relaunch the current one with the same kit that I'm going to show you and what it looks like and all the pieces and all the content that's in it. And I'm doing the exact same thing in the businesses, my own businesses that I showed you about, plus this has just done it too. So it's really cool. It's really exciting to be able to share that with you because it simplifies some of that technology overwhelm and it shows you exactly what it is. So if you're interested in learning about it, then stay tuned. And if you're interested in in taking it and buying it, then I want to show you what that looks like and how you can actually have it. So I'm going to jump into what the offer looks like so you know exactly whether or not that's for you. So here's what the offer is. We call it the Predictable Automated Webinar Kit. Okay, so it's a kit, and here's what it comes with. It comes with everything that you need. Okay, it's using the proven campaign tactics we're running with our existing clients. Plus, this is now running it. We're running it, and so we've got the tactics, the strategy, the urgency stuff we were talking about. It's already built in to that. We've got years of amazing results from this with clients that we've used before. We've compiled all those results and all of the tweaks and optimizations into the kit itself. And the best part is that it's practically done for you. Okay, I mean everything is in there for you, and there's just the irrefutable, essential things that you have to do to make it actually custom to your business. Now, the Predictable Automated Webinar Kit will show you how to do the following stuff. Okay, it is a complete webinar campaign, so it's specifically in Infusionsoft. It's been proven to work. All you got to do is add your details, you plug it in, and you press start. Okay, it helps you bypass the tech overwhelm. It bypasses the need for expensive tech teams or copywriters. And it allows you to easily implement an automated webinar play or campaign, even if you're new to doing an automated webinar campaign. The strategy, the tactics, all that, the substance, the content, it's rolled in for you. You don't have to go guess or figure it out or ask what are other people doing that are being successful. And literally, you just follow step-by-step instructions that take you step-by-step through it, okay? So let me show you some of the results we've been getting from this. I'll show you two. One is a recent client's results. They were doing an automated webinar, and it wasn't working, okay? So it was 17 registrations initially at $40 cost per lead. They had 3 attendees in that time, super expensive, with only 15% attendance, not real good, and it made them a whopping $0. So we optimized, we lightened, we improved both the mechanics of the journey and the technology of the journey to make sure it was stable. And then we also, after that, we improved the messaging. And again, you make iterative changes to make that. And then after, on month 3, the third month, so not in 3 months, but in month 3, they jumped to 334 registrations, got down to $9 cost per lead, had 100 attendees, which is a 30%, so doubled the attendance rate, and sold $12,000 in revenue after making those tweaks, optimizations, and then redeploying. So month 3, significant improvement, and this kit and what we're talking about is the strategy and the tech and so forth that was used to start to do this. Next one, if you look at our automated webinar, after the first 10 months of running it, this is how it converted, right? So you can see the numbers there for yourself, but a 51% attendance conversion with a 33%, from as we go down the funnel that scheduled their consultation off of the attendance. And the revenue generated from those attendees was $430,000 in those 10 months. It has surpassed $500,000 now, and we're I think at 12 months with it. So it works, it's simple. This one was simple for us. We weren't using a third-party tool. There's a few custom things, and this is the same one we are literally putting onto this kit right now to create that stability and for us dump a couple tools that we didn't want to use anymore. So this is for you if you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you're serious about creating a new revenue stream for bringing in new leads and sales through a webinar campaign. and you want to supercharge your marketing efforts using an automated webinar campaign. And here's what you're going to get in the kit specifically, right? So fully built Infusionsoft campaign, show you exactly what it looks like in a minute. Landing page templates in the 3 tools that I talked about that I think it was Nick was asking about. So depending on what technology you have, you're going to get those templates in those technologies. Complete webinar page template and step-by-step video instructions, implementation and configuration instructions, etc., and a launch checklist to make sure everything is good to go for you to be able to get this thing executed and launched. So all the tech setup and all the walkthroughs are there in, as part of this to make sure you just have to click things in place and make it work, right? So here's an example right there of the Infusionsoft landing pages. So inside Infusionsoft, all of the training for Infusionsoft, all the training for Plus This, all the training for the landing pages, and all the training, you can even see it at the bottom left if you get the bonus for the messaging, which I'm excited to tell you about just more in a minute. You get the Infusionsoft campaign. So here it is. Some of you are asking, you can see the top, and you can see all the other assets with the landing page builders. You can see the utilities in there. You can see inside the sequences, all the notes and all of the copy templates are already in there. So you don't have to create recreate the wheel. So every email in that journey is already written in here as a template with, whatever, 5 to 15% customization necessary. And then videos, this is a screenshot of the video walking through how to go and actually complete and execute each of these things. So we're walking you through literally step by step, click by click, and you can go as slow as you want, or you can 2x that speed, which is how I listen to all videos now. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. And it's there for you. Then finally, all the assets, the pages, the emails, and so forth, you actually get those also into the tools, right? So you get the template of the page. You get the confirmation page, you get the replay page, you get the expiration page. Like those assets are already built. All you got to do is configure, change hex codes and content and so forth. So you have everything you need to create this winning campaign, plus the step-by-step videos that walk you through the entire process, right? So we custom built it and then documented it all to put it into this package, right? Here's my analogy for what this thing is, right? A webinar is a complex thing. It is the equivalent of a Lego Death Star. It's awesome, and all you have to do ultimately is open the box, dump out the bags, follow directions, and click it into place. And hopefully you enjoy the clicking into place, but that ultimately it accelerates. You're not designing the Death Star. You're just assembling the Legos by following the directions. That's the best analogy I can give you for what it takes to actually put it together and deploy it. So hopefully you have fun doing it, but then you have a ton of fun having it actually live. And here's some bonuses. If this is you and you're not Ron Swanson, these are the bonuses if you guys buy now. So remember, in order to create a winning webinar, that's tough. Try to say that, and then you'll give me some slack. You need a proven campaign, which we've got for you, but also you need the right messaging to make sure it connects with your customers. So 6th Division, we're pretty good at messaging, right? We think a lot about it with a lot of clients, but actually it isn't our native genius. So what we've done is we have partnered with true world-class experts. So our partner Conscious Copy writes copy for people who are having success making millions of dollars from their automated webinars, right? So from Brendan Bouchard to Joe Polish to Eben Pagan to Dave Asprey, Sally Hogshead, people who are big influencers using the same technique. They write copy for all of these people, okay? That's Dean Graziosi, if anybody's a fan, that way you don't get mad at me or tell Dean that I didn't list his name at the beginning. Conscious Copy and Jennifer, her team writes copy for them. And so rather than reinvent the wheel, we wanted to partner and say, what do we know works already from a copy and a messaging standpoint? What is proven to work for some of these multi-million-dollar influencers who are using this? And what if we just use their stuff, right? So that's the idea. So you get the Conscious Copy webinar system. That's Jennifer. In the back, if you don't follow, that is Billie Jean, I Am Marketing. She's with their team on site working on a custom copy for their webinar, right? So, and guess what? It's going to be the same stuff. So that's valued at $5,000. So here's what that looks like as a deliverable, as a part of this kit, okay? Every single email template, right, and all of the copy for every step, registration push 1, registration invitation 2, you get the idea, registration, did not attend, did attend, and all the, did see the call to action, didn't see the call to action, all of the landing page templates, the registration page templates, and so forth. All of the copy that has been proven with all of those people is there for you. And you've got those assets, and you've got them in the campaign emails as well. Additionally, so you can take a look, right? This is what they look like. It calls out where you need to make changes, where you need to make specific details for your webinar. And then we built the pages so that you can actually drop them into the templates, right? The asset templates with very, very, with a lot of ease, okay? This is an example. The first time we ran the, basically the content where we offered this webinar, we used the exact landing page to get people on as we did, as the kit has itself. So we kind of like the meta approach and clearly believe in how it performs. So there'll be the copy, the content will be completely customized for you and your business. All you got to do is add in your own details, and then you have professional proven copy ready to use in your campaign. This is one of the biggest hurdles for people. It's one of the biggest things prospects ask and clients ask for us is, hey, who's going to write the copy? I'm not great at that. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know, what to say. And this is why we put this together, to make a really affordable blend of proven and professional copywriting and the best tech and strategy built into it. So you don't got to break your back trying to do that or hire someone that's expensive, because it is super expensive, or can be, I should say, and everything will be done for you. So here's what you get in that. You get the blueprint for creating the copy. You get the pre-built templates I just showed you. You get proven ways for positioning yourself. So there's actual exercises to get clarity there, and exercises on what the positioning is, not just the email templates. You get checklists to cross-check the copy to make sure there's the continuity and everything is checked off so you don't miss anything. And you get outlines for how the project is actually working and how you go complete all of the different assets. And then the other thing we're doing with Jennifer is we're going to throw in 2 bonuses. One, we're going to give you a professionally designed PowerPoint slide template if you buy today. So if you're like, I don't know how to design and make that, can you just accelerate that? We're going to give you professionally designed. So you have a couple options to choose from, and those are templates in there. And the second one is a group office hours call with Jennifer and someone from our team as well on the tech side. Huge benefit though with Jennifer talking about the messaging and the copy there. And those will be the 2 bonuses if you buy the kit or interested in the kit today. So question, does it work? Here is a screenshot of the webinar we ran last month using the exact template, the exact, everything following the same kit that we are positioning here. And here's the conversion rate of those registrations. So we got a 63% registration rate and conversion rate from the landing page. So yeah, it works. Okay. We also the content in it and the script we used for that webinar, not the same one we're talking about today. We used Jennifer's script to see, does it actually work? We'll find out. We exceeded our sales goal I got to do some quick math here. We exceeded the sales goal by 60%. So you get instant access to the Predictable Automated Webinar Kit, which is a total value of $7,500. You're going, JMac, where are you getting $7,500 for this kit? Where are you pulling that number from? I'll tell you in a second. You're also going to get the Conscious Copy webinar system that I just showed you with all of the positioning exercises and then copy, etc. And the last person we sold this, one of our last clients who just recently got this last month, so this would have taken me years to figure out. They literally got it up and running in 2 weeks. And here are what those components are: the Predictable Automated Webinar Kit, which has the campaigns, the templates, the webinar templates, the video instructions, and the launch checklist. You get the webinar copy, which is the blueprint, the templates, the positioning, the checklist, and the outlines, and then the additional bonuses I just talked about, which I'm clicking through quickly because I know you get it. So what's the price? Question before I tell you is, would it be worth the $7,500, which is what we charge to actually build this custom for somebody in our mini makeover? Would it be worth that if it helped you sell X number of units that you believe it would actually help you sell, or drive a predictable number of consultations or trials or so forth? Ask, and I'm literally asking this not as a psychological tactic. I'm literally asking this because this goes back to the first bullet point in my checklist I gave you, or I think it was the second one, which is how many do you need to sell to make sure it's actually worth it? It would be irresponsible for you to do this if you don't have a product or service at a price that would make it worth buying and implementing and driving traffic to. I heard you chuckle, Bryce.
Yeah, so we get massages every Wednesday. and she was just popping in through the window, wanted to know if we wanted a massage. So I was like waving her away. But no, not chuckling at the price. This is a good price.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, got it. Yeah, massages are Fridays for us. Yeah, people who, we think, oh, this will save everything. Well, no, it depends. As we said, are you selling something? So really ask yourself that, would that be worth it? And what kind of revenue could it drive based on what you're selling and what the offer is, okay? So our mini makeover is literally $7,500, okay? And this is a common thing we saw people doing. Hey, I want one plan in my business. We were building this custom, and that's, again, why and where this kit came from is, hey, what if we made this easier and cheaper for people who don't want to spend the custom time in our office or on the phone doing that? That's where we get that price. And today we're going to give it to you for a special offer that I hope is really affordable for you. You're going to get the kit, you're going to get the system for the copy, you're going to get the templates, and you're going to get the office hours call, which literally is a value of over $13,000. And today it's a $3,000 kit.
Holy cow.
So yeah, you get all of that for $3K, and we've just, hopefully the idea is scale. We've packaged it all in together to make it affordable and accessible for you to get the value and benefits of some really high performing tactic for other people, and that you can actually just deploy this yourself.
Yeah, after doing it myself, Justin, and it's a no-brainer. Like, we would pay easily the $7,500 or the $13,000 probably for it too. And we're a small, like, we sell a $79 product. It's a monthly fee, but it's literally $79 to like pay each month for it. And just being able to automate this whole process of like taking advantage of all the work we put into our webinars, where we make really good content, and it converts really well on the live ones. It's just a shame that it doesn't get used for more than that. So being able to have the system to be able to really scale that content and get more leverage out of it. Like you said, you had some of those campaigns running for a year, right? Like, and it's all this like getting ready and starting and setting it up in the beginning, doing some tweaks as you're going, but after that, it's pretty much on autopilot. It just keeps getting you more money and clients and new consults and everything. So, if anyone's listening to this and they're still like hesitant, it's definitely a no-brainer. There's like no risk there too. Definitely try it out. And for a lot of you, it's probably like 1 or 2 clients is all it takes to make your money back on it. And this is something you can have running for a year or more, and it'll consistently be bringing those in too, which is great.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Bryce. I'm excited to see what you guys do as you kind of tweak and optimize and get it dialed in, and how that works for you. And I'm excited for us. Like I said, we're translating to this exact platform right now with our current one that's been running for over a year. And we're about to kind of probably sunset that, and we're shooting new content that we're going to deploy literally using the exact same kit, right? Literally, it's like, hey, go through the kit, use these templates, use this exact campaign. So it is, us drinking our own Kool-Aid. I'm excited to see how it performs for that. So Bryce did mention the money back guarantee. There is a money back guarantee so that it takes all the risk out. So if you go through everything and launch within 30 days, if you go through it all, you do your work, but if something doesn't work as it's designed to, then we'll give you a full money back guarantee in those 30 days if you do the work, right?
Yeah.
So it comes with a clause for sure. Remember, for it to work, you've got to have a product. You've got to have a product people actually want, right? So that's the important thing as you're asking, should I even do this? Well, yeah, you should if you have a product and you serve people that fit the criteria we talked about earlier. And should I buy this and will I be eligible for the money back guarantee? Yes, if you do the work and you have a product, right, that has proven to sell. We're happy to, because we're confident it's going to work. And we want to take away any risk that you have. We'll just cut you a check, right? And so that means you're not eligible if you haven't done it. If you haven't done the work, well, then that's on you. Okay, we're putting everything we can to empower you there, but we just want to take that risk away for somebody who's willing to do the necessary amount of configuration to get it launched and live and put the Lego kit together. And all you got to do is send an email to Aaron at 6th Division within those 30 days, and we'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. Make it really, really simple for you if you're wondering if this is worth the risk. So really, it's just a matter of asking, hey, is it worth pulling the trigger on that to get this thing going and see what's inside, put it together. So recap. You get the kit, which is $7,500 value. You get the webinar system for the copy, which is a $5,000 value. You get the PowerPoint slide templates as a bonus, which is $500 value. I love looking at these because they're not made up. Like, I know we spent with our graphic designer to make a slide deck. I know we spent with professional copy.
Right.
And you get the office hours call with Jennifer, which is a $200 value, and also someone from our team. So you have tech questions or messaging questions. They're there. Again, total value of over $13,000. You get it for $3,000, right under $3,000 as well. I don't know if I say it on here. We also have an installation assembly option too. So if you're like, you know what, this is great, and I don't want to put my IKEA furniture together, and I don't want to put the Legos together, for $1,000, we will assemble everything. We'll do all of it for you as well if you want that assembly. We have a lot of people that have taken this up on that. Actually, I think 60% of the people who bought so far are like, yeah, just do that for me too. Don't have to, but that's there for you as well. So what do you do next? You click the link, and you immediately be taken to the next page. So fill out your info, and then you'll receive an email with the login info, and you can get started with a particular automated kit right away. Here's the link. I need to make sure I can grab it, actually. You know what? I don't know if I've got that, or we handled that ahead of time. So watch this super slick thing where I'm going to copy and paste and throw it into the questions box. Right. Let me know if that's there, Bryce. Hopefully you have that, and you can make sure everybody's got that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat too. I think you did it. Yep, looks good.
Okay, cool. So everything you need is there. I'm ready to take some questions about it specifically if you got them. And I've got some questions we've had in the past that I'm going to go through in just a second. So, hey, really excited to have spent time. Thanks for carving out. We've got like everybody. George said he had to bounce a little early, but everybody else is still here. So thanks for spending the time. I'd love to know what other questions you have. Let's jam on those things for the next couple of minutes. And in the absence of your questions, here are some FAQs that I'll get through in just a minute. But I'll pause there and Bryce, and see if you got anything else to ask or address.
Yeah, no, let's let people soak this in. I love it all, and I can't speak to how effective this strategy has been for us, and we're just starting it. And we're so excited to do many more of these too. So this isn't like this is something you can do for multiple webinars too. It's not just like one that's bringing in a couple leads or new things. You can do a whole variety of these and start scaling your business that way too, which is great.
Cool. So here's some questions that we get. I'll go through a handful of them just to address them. Let me know if any of these stand out for you, and then we'll wrap up in just a few. I've got a lunch and and some things to do. I know you guys do also. So the first one, how long will it take me to go through the entire course? The entire course, like the content itself, is I think it's about like 4 hours worth of content through all of it, including the messaging. I think the messaging is one of the the most important pieces actually, right? So I think it's about 4 hours of content in there. What we're seeing and why we're making the money back guarantee about 30 days, because that's about at a pace, right? That's about how long it'll take you if you crack it open and start working at it, and don't spend a full day dedicated to it, or full days dedicated to it. You should have this up and running in a month, right? And you can do it faster if you accelerate. But if you're chipping away at things, you're doing something, on week 1 to get your content ready, you start getting the deck built out, and then the assembly of the tech is actually probably the simplest, right? Because you're just following the video steps, right? So how much time per week do you need to set aside to complete the course? Again, it's really up to you. Like I said, the course itself and the configurations, you probably could do 4 to 8 hours a week. Would put you on pace, right? So a couple hours a day, or you can put a couple chunks together, block out an afternoon, 1 or 2 days, and you'll have that thing up and running. That's what we're seeing with the people who are launching in under 30 days. Is they're carving out 8 to 12 hours through those first couple of weeks to get everything done. And again, the more you have access to a team or any of those things to help you, that certainly can accelerate that. But these are the if you're a one-person shop, that is what you can probably anticipate. Next one, let's see. So gonna be out of town. Will I fall too far behind? In this case, this is on demand, right? So if you're going out of town or whatever, you have this. If for some reason you want to capture it and get it now while there's the deal and the bonuses, but you're not going to be able to assemble it, just let us know. We're humans. We'll treat you like a human, and we could make a unique agreement. If you're like, I really want that 30-day guarantee, we'll set a timer within a realistic timer with you and work with you, but you won't fall behind. It is on demand. You're not going to fall behind with anything else that's actually happening. How do you know if it's right for you? We talked a lot about that, but essentially, if you just want the answers and the proven messaging, the proven technology, and you don't want to buy any other third-party stuff, it's just a matter of I got Infusionsoft and I've got plus this, or I want to get plus this, you can run this with just those things and a free YouTube account if that's what you want to do, and you can actually deploy this. And that's literally what I would recommend, right? Don't spend a lot of time, energy, effort, or money doing something until you've proven that it will work. And that's why we built the kit, to make it easy for you to do, for everybody. So when can you expect to see results? Well, we gave an example of Bryce. Once it was live, they started seeing results immediately. And in 2 weeks, they've got those 10 trials and looking to see, to see that grow. And they're on pace to outperform a single live webinar in just the first month. The example we started seeing results. Really, if you're driving traffic, you'll see results in the first month to 3 months, depending on your messaging, right? So if everything's dialed in, you follow this messaging, then you should start to see results in the first month that you go live. Okay, what else? What else do I need to buy to see results within your program? It's just the technology that you need. Here's what is essential. This is built for Infusionsoft currently, so all email automation comes from Infusionsoft. You need to have Infusionsoft. That's where the kit works. The second thing, you need to have plus this. That is a key integral piece of it. So you need plus this, you need Infusionsoft. That's all you actually must have. Some other things you might have would include a video player. The plus this triggers only work with, and correct me if anything's updated and I'm wrong on this, Bryce, but it only works with YouTube, Vimeo, and Wistia.
Got it. That's
cool. So there's free versions of those as well, and there's paid versions. So depending on what you have there, but you're gonna need one of those video players, and then you can use the Infusionsoft landing pages. We give them to you. They're in the campaign. Or if you have ClickFunnels or lead pages, you can use those, and we push those templates for you there as well. And let's see, what else have we heard? Can you explain the bonuses to me again? Yeah, so just to be clear, right, if you want and you get the bonus today, you're going to get a professionally designed PowerPoint template, right? So you can go through, it's got the main templated slide types and so forth, so that you can just use something that's professional and attractive. And then you get the office hours call with Jennifer and someone from our team on the messaging and the tech to help you through that. And what if you have trouble accessing the program or have a question? How can you get help? You'll have the office hours help specifically for that. The technical stuff, you will have access to an email address for limited support on that. And everything is in the instructions for you in the kit itself. But we won't leave you in alerts if you've got questions. The Plus This guys and their team are ready to help you on any of the Plus This parts of the configuration with their support team. So you will have everything you need to be successful. And finally, what if you don't like it? Can I get a refund? Going back to what we said earlier, if you do the work and something doesn't work like it's supposed to, absolutely, we want this to be a no-brainer. If you're like, man, I want this is exactly what I need, and I'm not Ron Swanson making my own canoe, and I want to get this thing launched and live, then we want to make that a no-brainer for you. And let's see if there's one more. Nope, there isn't. Just some pictures of the stuff there. So cool. Bryce, I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions. We've still got a bunch of people here, so they're enjoying the show. If you've got any questions, now's the time to ask, because I'm ready to roll and bounce out of here, and we're excited to see you on the other side of this and see how we can help you. Bryce is going to make sure when you guys are done, you'll get access to your trial and the templates and the blueprint and all the stuff, so you can go be Ron Swanson. For those of you Ron Swansons hanging out.
No, that's great. I'm with you. I think this is all good. If anyone does have any questions that they think of later, you're welcome to email me back. You've obviously got my email if you've attended this thing. So feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to answer them there.
Cool. Well, hey, Bryce, man, thanks for putting this together. We are super excited about, showing popping the hood on something that we use Plus This with people, like all of our clients. And it's super cool to see how integral this is to the strategy and how stable it makes it, how easy it makes it, how light it actually makes it. And so really excited to share this with the Plus This audience on how they can really kind of do things a lot of the big boys who have teams and lots of dollars and lots of technology do really, really lean and affordably.
Yeah, thanks again for taking the time to share this all with our audience too, because we get questions about automated webinars all the time, and this will be really helpful for a ton of them. So appreciate that very much too.
You got it. Cool. All right, thanks everybody. We're out.
Yeah, see you all later. Bye.